Hi guys!
Hi!
Welcome back to our channel.
Hey!
We are here with my handsome husband, Matt.
I love you!
I love you too. So we have not been very vocal about Matthew's first experience going home to the Philippines, and that is because that was during the time when it was my dad's funeral, and this was like 2 years ago, right, Dad?
Oh, it was like 4 years ago.
Was it 4 years ago?
Yeah, it was my first year.
So today we're finally gonna do a reaction video about his first
4 years ago, yes.
his first experience going home to the Philippines. And we're doing this reaction video because it's just an unusual experience. So let's start with what happened when we were getting ready, packing up clothes, going to the airport. So Matthew was asking me, okay, what should I pack up? What clothes should I pack up for the wake, for the funeral? What basically I told him is, it doesn't have to be anything formal.
Right.
I think the good reason for that is in the Philippines, basically it's a warm weather, and the wake happens at a family member's home. We do not hold the wake at the funeral home. So basically, they lay the coffin inside a family member's home.
Yeah, which
and
I
it
was
stays,
not expecting that. I mean, you told me about it, but just to see it when I walked in was like, whew.
Yeah.
Right.
So just to give you guys an idea, here in America, how is the wake, Dad?
Well, when you think of the standard American wake and funeral, wake may last for 2 to 3 hours the night before a funeral. I mean, maybe you'll have 2 showings of the body, whether it's the wake the night, then a wake in the morning before the official service. Usually, the wake, memorial service, funeral, it all happens in a funeral home, a mortuary. Maybe sometimes you have the wake at a funeral home and the service in a church. Sometimes that happens. Maybe there's an after service meal in somebody's home, but more often than not, the entire process is not happening in somebody's home.
In the Philippines, we basically have the wake at my grandma's house, which happens to be my mom's mom. And Matt and I and Ethan were still here at that time, so they needed to wait for us for a couple of days. The wake lasted for a week, but practice in the Philippines is that once the body is being shown to people, you cannot leave the body by itself. Somebody has to be sitting right next to the coffin. Well, we switch shifts. Like, for example, I will be the one sitting right next to the coffin for half of the day, and then in the evening it will be my mom, and then after that, a couple of hours, it will be my aunt or a family member. But we just cannot leave the coffin lying on the corner of the house all by itself. I do not know what's the reason really, but that's just really the practice. Now, if you do know what the reason is, I would really appreciate if you put a comment there just so we would know the answer. But I'm just telling this story based on our experience. What else did you see there, Dad? What else did you experience during the wake? So outside of the house, especially in the evening, my family members set a number of tables outside of the house and also set a big tent. And for people to stay awake during the night until the morning, they set up those tables for them basically to gamble. Just like what I said, the only purpose of the gambling is for people to stay awake during the night, accompanying the family member who's there inside the house, keeping an eye on the dead person in the coffin. So that's really the purpose of having the gambling. Another thing is Before, when I was little, it's so common for, family members to hire a marching band to play music in the evening during the wake. But recently, I think because people are starting to or spend less money when it comes to, those kind of stuff, what they've been doing is they try to rent karaoke. So they set it up right next to the gambling tables, and that is one thing that helps people stay awake the whole night. So imagine that happens for an entire 7 days straight. And like what I said, if they are waiting for a family member coming from other parts of the globe, sometimes it lasts longer than 7 days. So moving forward then to the funeral, what was your experience there?
Well, so to me, the thing that was sort of, it's, I feel weird calling anything associated with the funeral cool. But the coolest or the nicest, however you want to phrase it, thing that I thought that we did was, and I forget how long we went from your grandma's house to the church. But again, right, if we're comparing with American traditions, number one, you would already be at the church or the funeral parlor. But here, we had to travel from the house to the church where the service was going to be. And you might think, oh, well, it's going to be a hearse followed by a procession of cars. No. There was the hearse. I'm not sure if it was a hearse or not.
It
that
was
the
a
coffin
hearse.
was
Yeah.
in. Again, you mentioned the karaoke with somebody singing basically on the flatbed of this pickup truck. Followed by, we were basically like a parade on feet. We were a procession, and myself, your mom, you, we were all,
Ethan.
and Ethan, we were all at the front, sort of touching
And
the
it's not
bumper.
just us, it's a lot of people.
Right.
Everybody-
I'm just saying that we were at the front of it, but
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, everybody who came to the funeral, it's not really a requirement to walk, but basically they joined the procession. So what Matthew was just saying is, we put the coffin in a hearse, and then behind the hearse is the immediate family walking, and then we basically march from my grandma's house all the way to the church, which I would say probably take like 45 minutes walk.
And what I thought was the most interesting thing about that was that the people who, because obviously you're passing by people as you're on this procession who may not, they're not related to you, they don't know you, but everybody was very respectful, and some people come out of stores, their homes, and just to pay their respects, whether to stand there just quietly, with their hands over their hearts. Some people were throwing money. I guess as a donation to the family. But I thought that, again, I don't want to call anything associated with the funeral cool, but to me it showed this really wonderful sense of community. And just care that everybody showed a family that was going through this horrible thing.
And so after the ceremony at the church, we had another procession going to the cemetery, which took another 45 minutes walk. And then the next part is at the cemetery. So what was your experience there, Dad?
The cemetery itself, I would compare to if you've ever been to New Orleans or the area around southern Louisiana. Where the water level is so high that you actually can't bury bodies in the ground because you'll hit water before you get 6 feet deep. So instead of being underground, there are actually these, I don't know what the correct term
Ditches.
is, mausoleum,
Yeah.
ditches, but everything is built above
the
ground.
Yeah.
Like
Like boxes.
Yes. So basically what I'm saying, the cemetery is not flat, right? In America, you're used to the cemetery is mostly flat. You see grass, you see the headstones, but you don't see, the coffins are in the ground. Right here, you're seeing everything is above ground, so it's hard to actually navigate through the cemetery and see people. You know, in America, we talk about if you're in a cemetery, it's rude to step on somebody's grave. You know, and there are superstitions about that. At this particular cemetery, you couldn't help but to cross over somebody's grave. So people kind of zigzagging through other people's graves, stepping over them because you have to get to wherever your particular lot is going to be. And going through that, and you know, again, cemeteries in the U.S. are fairly solemn places. You see.
Ours is a solemn place too.
Oh, let me finish what I'm saying here.
Okay.
You may see some flowers. You may see maybe, you know, somebody putting like, you know, pictures, stuffed animals by people's graves. What I noticed, and I'm not saying it wasn't solemn, but on the way to your dad's grave, you would see people sort of, I guess the best way I could put it is hanging out with their deceased loved ones, whether it's listening to the radio, watching their favorite shows with them, having a picnic, whatever. But there were people who were, you know, spending the day there, not just going, you know, to pay their respects for 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay. So one thing that you also pointed out, or when we were having my dad ready to, you know, get into the niche. So a common practice in the Philippines is that before we bury our loved ones, we basically prepare them by putting on a pair of shoes, tucking them in with bed sheets, and packing up some clothes and put it inside the coffin. Because they're saying, you know, old people in the Philippines would say, oh, you need to pack up extra clothes because otherwise he'll come back and get some clothes because he needs that for his journey. You need to tuck him in with a bed sheet because otherwise he's gonna get cold and then he'll come back to your house and get a bed sheet. So that's why we're doing that. Another thing that also happened during the burial of my dad is that kids who were present during the burial were asked to...
Well, they were like lifted over. They had to do like a crossing where it's like, we're gonna take this child from one side of the coffin and we're gonna pass it over the casket and it's gonna land over here. It looked like,
and they cannot.
At the beginning
they
of
basically their body cannot touch the coffin. The kids cannot touch the coffin at all. I do not know why. Again, if you know the reason, leave a comment so we'll know. Okay, so next part is coming home from the cemetery. So what was your memory when we got home, Dad?
Okay, so this is probably going to be one of the briefest parts because I don't remember a ton of it because it didn't, well, I will say that the entire process took a long time because a whole bunch of people had to go through it, but for each individual person it was very short. But I remember like sitting down and basically somebody washed my hair with vinegar.
Yeah, so I think that was before entering my grandma's house. That is when we were asked to wash our head with vinegar. Now, again, I do not know what's the reason why we have to wash our heads with vinegar. But if you know, please leave a comment again. One more thing also that I can remember coming home from the cemetery is before coming in the gate of my grandma's house, or the main entrance to my grandma's house, they basically build a fire.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
They build a fire in the middle of the driveway. And every person who is going into my grandma's house or property, they have to walk over that fire.
Yeah.
It's not really a big fire that to the point that you'll get burned, but it's dirt that you gathered around the house or outside the house in the front yard, and then you lit it up. That's basically what it is. I think the purpose of that is burning those dirt that was left out during the wake. I think it's a way of saying goodbye to the past or something. And then when everybody got in at my grandma's house already, of course we served food to everybody who joined us during the funeral. And then when everybody left already, all the guests left for the day, the immediate family members were asked.
I would say that this is the main event. This is the reason that you're watching this video, to see an American's reaction to this.
So anyway, so the immediate family were asked, or I shouldn't say asked, because
told, more like it.
It's not even, it's like there's no other option, but you have basically to do it. So we were told or required that to do what they call luglog. So luglog is a Filipino or an Ilocano term. So Ilocano is basically the local language in the province where we live and where we buried my dad. So luglog basically, if you'll translate it in English, it's more of like playing with water. That's the translation of it.
That leaves a bit out. I will say that.
So here's the part that we're gonna tell you about. So when we were asking them, because we were told, okay, you guys get ready for luglog, and I said, what is luglog? Well, all of you are gonna hop in the car, and all of you are gonna go to the farm.
I will say this, because I'm not sure where exactly we're going with this, because before we get in the car to even leave, like, and this goes back to what am I packing to wear at the funeral and the wake, because I'm not going to tell you what the luglog is right now, because if you don't know, I think it's better if you hear it as a story unfolds. But I will say this. I was basically given, hey, Matt, and not just for me, but we bought some cheap black clothes in your size. It was a black polo shirt, it was a black slacks or jeans or whatever. But basically, not the nice clothes that you brought to wear to the funeral. Here, we bought these. They're not your actual clothes. Put them on for the luglog. Go on.
Okay, so we put on those outfits that were given to us, but they did not buy us any undergarments. So we were wearing our own undergarments.
Well, and I mean, I don't know how important that is at the moment, but yes, we are going in the luglog provided clothing.
Okay, so everybody hopped in the car, me, Ethan, my mom, and Matt, and then I believe my grandma went there too, my aunt Rosie went there too, and then I think two of my cousins went there too. So here are the ingredients for the luglog. You need a live chicken. You need a live chicken. You need a big pail. You need a small bucket, like a watering bucket, and you need a knife. And you need a river. Those are basically the ingredients. So everybody hopped in the car. We all went to the farm right next to the river. And
I want to say
not knowing what really is gonna happen. They just say it's luglog, but they really do not tell us what's gonna happen during luglog. Okay, Dad.
Well, okay. For those of us, and I don't know how much Evie has talked about this in previous videos, we live about a 45-minute drive from the Mississippi River, one of the grandest rivers on God's green earth. In my mind, what a river is did not match up with what a river is for the low globe, I believe the American term would be creek, perhaps ditch. Yes, I'm not wrong. Just bring it out there because we're saying river, but let's say what it really is.
Okay. Anyway, so we got there at the location, and everybody says, okay, so this is what's gonna happen. We have to jump in the river, which is how Matthew described it as a ditch. We have to jump in there to wash off ourselves. And then one of the people who were with us, which happens to be my cousin, his responsibility is to take care of the chicken. So this is the chicken part. He has to slice up the chicken's neck, but he has to keep the chicken alive.
Get off our back, PETA.
So the purpose of slicing up the chicken's neck is to be able to squeeze out blood. It's not a lot of blood. It's probably just 3 to 5 drops of blood. So the blood that came out from the chicken goes straight to a bucket full of water. The water basically comes from the running river. Okay. Okay. Once he's done with that, all the immediate family scoop up a small bucket of water from that bucket. So, and then pour it on ourselves. So I got one, Matthew got one, my mom got one, Ethan got one. And then after that, we were all instructed to jump on the river. So all of us went in the river, but the rule is we have to jump at the very top of the river and then make our way down to the river by just letting the current take us through the bottom of the river. The reason about, us family members jumping in the river is for us, basically they're saying that it helps to wash off the sorrowful part of us, because we need to wash it off in the river, because if not, I think they're saying that it implies that the soul of the loved one will have a hard time going to heaven.
Right.
So that's a way of washing off that sorrow. And then during that time, one of the instructions is that my cousin is going to throw the chicken to us, and we have to catch the chicken, and we have to make sure the chicken cannot fly away or run away from us.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And then after that ceremony, so we caught the chicken. I don't even remember who caught the chicken. Most probably it was my cousin too, because none of us is able to catch it. Matthew, you did not catch it, right?
Oh, I caught something. Just not a chicken.
Anyway, so just to mention, the chicken is still alive. It's not dead.
That's right.
Okay. So somebody caught the chicken, and then my mom told us to strip up our clothes right there on the sidewalk. No bathrooms, no dressing room. Right there, strip it off.
So we do all this, and we're in towels, drying off. Clothes are getting burned, and you and I are talking because the pants are gone, the top is gone, but we're still wearing our underwear. It's covered up by the towel, and I look at him like, hey, we weren't supposed to do this too, right? It was just the outer clothes, and your mom is there, and and maybe you shouldn't have asked her, but you asked her, like, hey, Mom, do we need to do this too? And your mom just looked at me stone cold and said, take off your underwear. That we had to burn everything. And the thing is, I wish I would have known, because the underwear was my underwear. It was not stuff that was bought for me. And I think, had I known about it, I would have taken it off at your grandma's house, rode to the river commando, and then been able to put it back on when I put my real clothes back on the way back to the house, as opposed to now I'm going back to the house commando, and that was a good pair of. There was nothing wrong with that underwear. There were no holes in it. It fit me. There was no reason to get rid of that pair of underwear. And I said, your mother owes me a pair of underwear. And that's where that goes. And look, we're Catholic, we're Christian, and this funeral, this whole thing, Catholic, Christian, but no matter where you go to in the world, I put your own flavor on it.
It's part of our culture.
Yes, of course, of course.
And we're not doing this video to disrespect the culture.
No,
we are
no,
doing this video to just basically share our experience, especially this guy's experience.
No, and I'll say, and yeah, we go back and we finish up some stuff, but that really is where the main part of the story ends. But I teach at a Catholic school. I teach at a Catholic school in rural Mississippi, where the Bible rules most, if not everything, and we'll talk about, the kids in my class will talk about, that's not part of my faith. They don't want to do that. Or we have kids at our school who aren't Catholic and feel that they shouldn't have to participate in the mass because that's not their faith. And we talk about being respectful of other cultures. And if I went to temple at a Jewish synagogue, and the people are standing at a certain time, sitting at a certain time, eating a certain thing, whatever, I would want to be respectful of that culture, and participate in whatever they ask me to participate in. I participated in this, and I don't regret it. It's a funny story, but I don't regret participating in it. And I will tell my students that, look, I did this not necessarily because it's what I believe in. I'm Catholic, but I don't necessarily. I don't have the same superstitions as my wife or her family do, but because I am the guest there, I want to be respectful of that culture. So I did, and as much as we're laughing now, we weren't laughing. We were laughing later on that night and everything. Going to buy some new underwear and stuff like that. It was cool. Yes.
It was cool.
Yes.
Yeah. It was a really good experience.
So, look, we've been going on for a long time with this. If you like stories like this, make sure to comment below and let us. I've not been to the Philippines a ton, but I do have several other fish out of water American in the Philippines story. That's the best one. Sorry, we're not having the big build to that, but maybe some future videos. We could talk about some of my other experiences in the Philippines that I was not expecting.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching.
What are we doing?
Okay.
I'm not sure. What are we doing?
We're gonna do the video.
No, I know we're gonna do the video, but how do you start these off?
What? You say, of course you're gonna greet everybody. Hold on.
Do you want to start this over?
Yeah. Okay.
Alright, seriously, start this one. Hi guys, welcome back to Cravings. Is that the name of it? Cravings Highlights?
Yeah.
Alright, start over.